Men of all ages are struggling in ways we've never seen before. College enrollment, mental health, suicide rates, all trending in the wrong direction. I'm going to show you the 3 structural forces destroying an entire generation of men, and more importantly, the 5 actionable strategies that can turn this around. This isn't a culture war rant. This is a data-driven analysis from economist Scott Galloway. By the end, you'll understand exactly why this crisis affects everyone, not just men. And if you stay until the end, I'll reveal the one policy change that could fix 80% of this problem overnight. Welcome back to Deeper Dudes. But first, let's talk about why we're even having this conversation in such a weird way. The BBC titled their interview with Scott Galloway, "Young Men Are Struggling." What does this mean for young women? This framing, this constant need to acknowledge women's challenges before we can discuss men's problems is exhausting. Could you imagine a video titled, "Young Women Are Struggling, What Does This Mean for Young Men?" That would never happen. Nobody does a land acknowledgement about male suicide rates before discussing female breast cancer. But Scott makes a crucial point here. There's a difference between being right and being effective. If you actually want to help young men, you need to frame it as a societal problem, not a gender war. Women aren't going to continue to thrive, and countries aren't going to prosper as long as young men are flailing. That's just reality. The bias against discussing male struggles is real, but it's understandable. For 99% of human history, men of Scott's generation had structural advantages. So there's muscle memory, a reflexive gag reflex when anyone suggests men might need help now. Here's what that bias looks like in practice. Scott can say at a conference that women make better doctors because they have better bedside manner, and everyone nods politely. Studies support this. Women often do excel in medical empathy and patient communication, but if he suggests that men, throughout history, needed to be more risk-aggressive to hunt or fight wars, and therefore might have attributes that make them better entrepreneurs on average, there's an uncomfortable pause. You can celebrate women as better doctors, lawyers, consultants, but suggest men might have advantages in high-risk entrepreneurship, and suddenly you're on thin ice. None of this means we should discriminate in medical school admissions or venture capital funding. But we can't even have an honest conversation about different strengths without someone getting offended. And this is where the soft bigotry of male expectations comes in. We applaud women for becoming CEOs and leaders. That's seen as aspirational, breaking barriers. But we don't celebrate men developing nurturing skills, emotional intelligence, or caregiving abilities with the same enthusiasm. There was an anthropological study recently that got reanalyzed, and it turned out the data had been manipulated to show women did just as much big game hunting as men, sometimes more. The problem was how they counted contributions. One hunt by a woman counted the same as 50 hunts by a man. They didn't measure the size of the game or frequency. The agenda was clear: make women look capable of doing what men did. But here's the insidious part. By trying to prove women could hunt like men, they implicitly devalued what women actually did. Alloparenting, coalition building, local resource management, creating safe communal spaces. These aren't lesser achievements. They're different, crucial contributions that men historically struggled with. When you say women should aspire to male-dominated activities, you're saying male activities are inherently more valuable. That's deeply sexist, and the call is coming from inside the house. Andrew Schultz told Scott about his wife, who used to work at Google. They'd go shopping with their daughter, who came after a difficult IVF journey, and run into her old coworkers. They'd ask what she's doing now, and she'd say, "Oh, I'm just a mom. That word just killed Andrew every time." It's incredibly difficult for women to take pride in home building today. And here's the thing: 8 in 10 childless women didn't intend to be childless. This is Stephen Shaw's research. 4 in 5. There are entire communities of women grieving families they never had. The cultural message that motherhood is somehow less than a career has created a crisis of unfulfilled desire. But here's where it gets even more complex. The shame is actually greater when a man says he's a stay-at-home dad. there's still an expectation that a man who stays home didn't choose it. He's seen as not a real man, someone who can't provide. Women face judgment for being just a mom. Men face judgment for being home at all. The whole decision to prioritize family over career is wrapped in shame, regardless of gender. Before we go any further, I want to pause for something important. None of what we've been talking about matters if we don't have the energy and clarity to actually implement it. Look, we can't become the best version of ourselves on a broken foundation. We all know what it feels like to wake up exhausted. No energy, poor focus, and zero motivation. We've all been there. We also know what it feels like when we get good, restful sleep, targeted therapy, and the right supplements. I've personally tested more things than you can imagine. I'm like your personal guinea pig. Everything in the description below is science-backed and extensively tested. And if you grab anything through my links, you'll be supporting this channel at zero cost to you. Thanks for taking a look. Now let's get back to it. Now, Scott identifies as a proud progressive liberal, but he thinks the left takes good intentions too far. The narrative starts right. Women should perform well in workplaces and step into boardrooms. But then it becomes anything less than that is inferior. About 5% of the population is non-heterosexual. This community has been demonized, victimized, persecuted throughout history. Wanting to protect them, create programs that lift them up, makes total sense. The problem is, we've started treating it as a zero-sum game. Recommending that men lean into masculinity or women lean into femininity is somehow seen as insulting to the non-binary community. It's not. Scott's partner can hear their kids get up in the middle of the night and know exactly what's happening, that they're about to come into the bedroom. Scott sleeps through the whole thing. His kid comes home from a soccer match and his partner immediately knows something's wrong. Scott thinks everything seems fine. There's an intuition there, a different kind of awareness, but if you point this out, people ask, are you saying women aren't as good in the boardroom? No. Meanwhile, being physically strong, prone to taking risks, biased toward action, occasionally aggressive. These are wonderful attributes that have served society incredibly well. Men have an easier time leaning into these traits, but they're positioned as violence and recklessness. Unless a woman displays them, then she's a leader, a baller, a badass. The reality is, when Russians pour over the border in Ukraine or a house is on fire, you want some big dick energy. And it's okay to celebrate certain masculine attributes and certain feminine attributes. The most productive, secure, loving households in history bring a mix of very distinct masculine and feminine energy. And by the way, that masculine energy can be brought by two women. That feminine energy can be brought by two men. Scott's male friends tend to be quite feminine. He's drawn to men who take care of him. He's their asshole fraternity friend who says inappropriate things. The point is, recognizing that masculine and feminine energy make a great combination doesn't take anything away from people who are non-binary. Democrats, in an effort to be sensitive and thoughtful, have just gone too far. There are 200 people in the DEI department at the University of Michigan. Meanwhile, 55% of the freshman class identifies as non-white. So do they have 200 people working on getting more white males from Republican states? In 1960, there were a total of 12 black students at Princeton, Harvard, and Yale combined. That was a problem. Now, Harvard is 55% non-white. But here's the catch. Of those non-white students, 70% come from upper-income homes. We don't want to actually solve the problem of inequality anymore. We just want to look like we're solving it. Diversity has never been about class, and that's the real issue. We need affirmative action. Scott's a beneficiary of it, but it should be based on color, and that color is green. The academic gap between black and white students used to be double the gap between rich and poor. Now it's flipped. The gap between rich and poor is double what it is between non-white and white. If we really want to help society, we need to focus on economic class. Trevor Noah's kids aren't going to have any problem getting into college. The real victims are poor kids from Stockton-on-Tees or rural Kentucky or the south side of Chicago. 40 years ago, Title IX was passed because college enrollment was 60-40 male to female. We decided that was unacceptable. Having 50% more men in college, which has always been a ticket for economic mobility, was seen as discriminatory. So we passed affirmative action for women. But it was headed in the right direction. Women were already ticking up. Where are we now? The exact same ratio, 60-40, except now it's women to men. And it's headed in the wrong direction. The numbers get even worse when you look at graduation rates because men drop out at higher rates. 7 times more men dropped out during COVID than women. There's been no discussion of affirmative action for men, even though the problem is now worse in reverse. It would be politically unpalatable, but it's happening under the radar. Admissions directors will tell you they're having trouble getting men to apply. Men don't feel welcome at college. The school system is biased against them. Whenever there are same-sex schools, boys, schools end up having twice as much recess. They need a different approach to education. As a father of 2 boys, Scott knows his son sitting in French class doing verbs for 80 minutes would be physical torture. Sit there, be quiet, don't move, don't get distracted, raise your hand. These are activities much more easily adapted by women. But here's the solution. The majority of programs that would lift up young men would benefit all young people. A more progressive tax structure that lowers the tax burden on current income. Scott makes most of his money buying and selling stocks, houses, assets. His tax rate is lower than most people who earn money through work. Why is sweat taxed at a higher rate than money? It should be flipped. Everything we've done over the last 40 years from a tax and legislative standpoint is a transfer of wealth from young to old. Part of the male crisis is a lack of mating opportunities. Men need the guardrails of romantic partners and friendships. Men are dramatically less attractive when they're not economically viable. Chris Rock said Beyoncé could have married Jay-Z if she worked at KFC. The other way around doesn't work. This is the tall girl problem. When women rise socioeconomically, men comparatively get shorter. Women are predisposed to date up and across dominance hierarchies. As women rise, they're looking at a rarefied strata of men. Any evolutionary psychologist will tell you, if you have an imbalanced sex ratio, power goes to the rarer sex. Women's selection preferences create an imbalanced sex ratio, favoring ultra-high-performing men who use, discard, and don't commit. Research shows that men need relationships more than women. The cartoon of a tragic woman in her 30s alone with cats is outdated. When a woman doesn't have a romantic relationship, she pours energy into friends and professional life. Men pour it into unproductive things. They go deeply online, become prone to conspiracy theories. 1 in 3 men who don't cohabitate with or marry a woman by age 30 will become substance abusers. Widows are happier after their husbands die than when they were alive. Widowers are less happy. Men in relationships live 4 to 7 years longer. Women live longer too, but only 2 to 4 years. Partnership is a better deal for men. Scott thinks men should pay for everything early in a relationship, and he got pushback from both men and women. Women said he's using money to control them, reinforcing patriarchy. But here's his reasoning. A woman has a much shorter window for mating and propagation. Her time during fertility years is more valuable, so she should scrutinize more carefully. Also, the downside risks of sex are greater for women. Men benefit more from romantic relationships than women. There's an asymmetry of benefit. Paying for dates shows commitment, recognizes the asymmetry, signals seriousness. It's a costly signal that says, I recognize this is better for me than you. Let me rebalance it by investing. Have liberals started paying attention to the man problem? Or is it still a cursory glance? They've just started. Scott went to the Democratic National Convention. It was a parade of special interest groups, the struggles of women, non-whites, the gay community, immigrants. The only group not mentioned was the group that has fallen fastest on any metric, and that's young men. The DNC website used to list 16 demographic groups under who we serve: Native Americans, Pacific Islanders, Black Americans, veterans, the disabled, seniors. It added up to 74% of the population. The only 26% not named was young men. When you purposely advantage 74% of the population, you're discriminating against the remaining 26%. The right recognize the male problem first, but their answer is often coarseness, cruelty, conflating masculinity with a zero-sum game, returning to the 1950s. That's not the right vision. The far left's vision is equally broken. Their message to men is, you don't have a problem, you are the problem. Also not productive. Their solution is, act more like a woman. That won't work either. But here's what's interesting. Despite the public narrative, many women will privately say they want a masculine man. Women who are divorced will ask Scott if he knows anyone, and about half the time they'll look around and quietly admit, I like a masculine man. The public narrative is they want someone sensitive. But as the snarky joke goes, do you really want a sensitive man? That just leaves two of you crying in a parking spot. It's sexist, but there's truth to it. Women are drawn to men who demonstrate traditional masculine attributes, despite public narratives about wanting sensitive men in touch with their feelings. We're not having an honest conversation about male struggles or how to fix them. Scott believes you'd get 80% of the way there through programs that aren't even gender-targeted. Maybe some specific school programs like redshirting boys or getting more male teachers in K through 12, but most solutions would benefit everyone. If he could pick one program, it would be mandatory national service for both men and women, similar to Israel. It allows men to display competence and prestige, makes them more attractive as mates when they complete it, and builds the resilience and purpose that young people desperately need. Drop a comment. What's the one change you think would most help young men today? Mandatory service, education reform, or economic opportunity? And here's the harder question. Have you seen this crisis affect someone you care about? Well, that's it. Thank you for taking the time to watch this video. We hope you found it helpful. If you did, please be sure to give it a like and maybe even subscribe to Deeper Dudes. And hit the notification bell so you don't miss any new videos. It all helps the channel more than you know. And it also tells us that we should make more content like this. We post videos every other day that tackle real challenges men face. So if you liked this one, you're probably going to enjoy the others. Remember, struggling doesn't make you weak, it makes you human. The fact that you took time to watch this means you're ready for something better. Thanks again for watching and for checking out all the amazing products in the description below. They could jumpstart your healing journey. Catch you in the next one, Deeper Dudes. Until then, keep learning, keep growing, keep thriving.